Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, bass players around the world, Detroit bass players, we got with us none other than William Shively, the bassist for BOYZ II. And that was some awesome playing you just did there, bro.
Thank you.
I got a couple of questions, a few questions I want to ask you. And
yes, sir. Ask away.
My first question to you is, when did you start playing the bass and why?
Oh, okay. I love to tell this story. See, I come from a musical family. My parents both play music, piano, guitar, recorder. My mother had a recorder quartet that they used to rehearse in the house. So like we were required to all take piano lessons, which I grew up in Southern California, and that was in the 70s. So at that time in Southern California, it wasn't really hip to be playing the piano. Like in my neighborhood, it was like, that was kind of like not cool. So I quit that when I was 10 years old. And my brother started picking up the drums, and my other brother started playing the guitar. So they would keep jamming around all the time, and they were saying, man, that sounds great, but we need bass. And I'm like, you got a bass drum right there, just play. What are you talking about, bass? There's a bass drum right there. So I didn't even know what bass was until one day, it was like a Saturday, they moved everything in the garage and they were jamming, and there was a bass player there, and he had this guitar that was like 4 strings, fat strings and everything. And I was like looking at him, like, I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, I want to play bass, you know? So he's like, all right, we'll just find a place that'll give you lessons, and I'll pay for them, because my folks were split up at the time. So I kind of went on a journey. Now, you don't know this, but I'm left-handed, so I started calling around places to find out if they could rent me a left-handed bass and play and get lessons. And everybody was telling me no. And I wish somebody had told me, hey, man, just turn it upside down. But I had no idea to do that, or even string it the other way. No one ever told me that. So until I spoke to one guy on the phone, and he said, hey, well, if you're left-handed, then your left hand can play all the runs, and it'll be easier on the fingerboard. So it sounded like it makes sense to me. So I started taking lessons. And I was actually taking lessons. A guitar player was my teacher, so we always were jamming, and he would play riffs, he would play guitar chords, and I would play bass along with it. And so I went through the whole thing on that way. So that's how I started playing bass.
And how old were you think back then?
I think I was 12. I think it was 12. Yeah, I was 12 years old.
About the same time I started playing. And I think you're the first, I'm not sure, but I think you're the first left-handed person that I've seen playing a right-handed bass. I've seen the other way around, but never a left-handed person playing like a right-handed. So, well,
you know what? I thought I was pretty unique, but it's funny. Like 2 of my really good friends, and I think you might know him, Joey Green. He's from Cleveland. Yeah, he's the same way. Left-handed, plays right, and also Nate Holloman. I don't know if you know Nate, but. He was playing for BOYZ II for a minute, and played with I believe NDRE and some gospel, but he's also left-handed but plays right-handed. So it's like, and we all live in Las Vegas. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So it's just really interesting how we all came up that same way.
And speaking of your bass, what is that, man? I see it's 6 strings, but what kind of bass is that?
Okay, this is an Aria Pro 2, made by Aria, and actually when I was going to Musicians Institute, I was studying with Steve Bailey. And and he was playing the fretless version, and one day he was taking pictures of all of his basses for insurance purposes, and this was there, and I'm like, oh, you got a fretted version. And I was like kind of like on a quest. I was finding like I couldn't find at the time, it was like in like 90, I can't remember, like maybe 94, 95 when I got this thing. I couldn't really find a 6-string that sounded like a Fender Jazz. So since he's a lover of Fender Jazz, you know, come up with Jocko and stuff, when I played this thing, it sounded like a Fender Jazz to me. So I was like, man, would you sell that? And so he sold it to me for a really, really good price. And so I've had it ever since. I've done a lot of mods to it, but, you know.
Okay. Now, I see the 6 strings, and I'm going to be honest, I heard you playing a little bit, and that don't seem like a standard tuning bass there, a standardly tuned bass there. What's your setup on that, on your tuning?
Yeah, it's quite different. It's kind of the same but different, you know.
The strings.
I came up. Okay, these strings. This is F sharp.
So your lower string is F sharp.
Yeah, F sharp, B, E, A, D, G. So, you know, I came up playing standard tuning, and so this bass was originally strung B, E, A, D, G, C, like standard. I had no idea out there's a whole world of people tuning down to a half step down to B flat or down a whole step to A, until I discovered gospel music 2 years ago, and I started playing at this church that plays gospel, and I was like, how are they getting those notes? So I prayed about it, and I was like, God, what do I do? You know, should I tune down my bass? Like, I've been playing my bass standard for so long, it's like that'd be just like having to learn the whole neck all over again. Oh no. So I mean, I did a lot of prayer about it, like, should I just tune one string down a half step? Or I mean, there's a lot of different, you know, options that you could do, until, you know, I guess one day I just got on the computer and I just kind of started searching around. I know God led me to it, but I heard about, I always knew about Bill Dickens, and then I was like, wait, Bill Dickens plays gospel, so what did he do? So I learned that he put the F sharp on his 7th string, so it's like F sharp all the way up to C. So I was like, hey man, maybe I can get a 6-string set of that goes down to F sharp. So at first, like, I just bought the one F sharp string, but it was just like the tension wasn't good on it. It didn't feel natural at all. And then again, prayed about it, and I was led to this company called Kalium Strings, Circle K Strings. This guy Skip over there, I was able to call him over the phone, looked up his number, and he like gave me the whole rundown. And you know, the tension on these things, they feel exact. This feels like a B string. It doesn't even feel. People look at it and go, "Oh my God, that looks like it's so hard to play. I couldn't imagine." But it's simple. It's just normal. It doesn't feel like anything. You get used to it, and it's totally natural. So now I have the ability to hit those low notes. You know, this is the lowest note right here is A, and if I go any lower, it'll sound, the overtone of the A flat is so loud that it won't sound like an A flat. So if I was ever to do it, like sometimes in the show I do it, but I play an octave, so that way it brings out more of the actual tone that I'm going for. I'll even go down to F sharp, but my rule that I've learned is just like I play octaves when I get down there.
Right. Okay. You hear that, bass players? Keep those overtones out of the way. Play the octave. I've actually messed around with needing a low B flat, but my lower string is B on the 5, and I just hit the B just to see if the neck here is going to be able to tell if that's a B or B flat. Yeah. Sometimes I can, and I'll stop it, but sometimes, depending on what it is, I just play the B and half the people won't know it's
Right.
B flat.
Right. That's a good point, though. One thing I have noticed is since I've been playing this, I've had this set up for about a year and a half, maybe. And since I've had this set up, like, my ear has been able to distinguish the lower notes a lot better. So it's just by naturally playing it, you're familiarizing, you're hearing it, just subconsciously, your brain is working on making logical sense of it. So I've noticed that I hear it a lot better.
Okay, let me ask you, Will, where do you currently reside at?
I live in Las Vegas.
You live in Las Vegas. Well, how in the heck are you on the Detroit bass players list of brothers if you live in Las Vegas?
I love my friend Lonnie Motley, man. He's a real good dude. Yeah, man. I know
another Detroit bass player.
Yes, sir.
Funkadelic alumni.
Yes, sir. I ran into Lonnie when he first came to town in Las Vegas. I think might have been like 2001, 2002. And we've been friends ever since. He's an amazing player. I love his playing, love his tone. I love. So we just been keeping in touch. And then, I guess on Facebook, one day all of a sudden it's like I was invited to Detroit bass players, and I was just amazed at how extensive of a group Detroit bass players is. It's really truly awesome that you guys have such a great I don't know what do you call it, a foundation, a club, a
camaraderie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honored to be invited here. I'm honored to be part of it. I mean, there's so many amazing bass players. Like, I've seen the videos all the time that are on there. I mean, you all got something great going on up here, and I didn't have that growing up. Until I got into like the gospel scene, did I really feel like there was like a camaraderie of like helpfulness between other musicians. Most of the time, like, I came up where it's kind of like dog eat dog. Like, it was really, really cutthroat. So I wasn't used to that, and so it's been a breath of fresh air. So yeah, like, I fell in love with gospel music 2 years ago, and just the people that are all involved in it, from going to church to all the musicians, I just found a higher number of just really cool, down-to-earth, helpful, kind-hearted people. And I love to be in an environment where people are like that.
Okay.